This is about true drug addiction and true drug addiction stories. Enjoy. Drugs and drug addiction have been a part of the human culture for thousands of years. Marijuana was used medically as far back as 2737 BC, and narcotics had their first mention back in 4000 BC. Although the drugs had been in use for centuries, it wasn't until the 19th century that people began extracting drugs from plants and other sources to get drugs such as morphine and cocaine. When these drugs were first put into use, they were given freely by medical doctors to patients. It is estimated that by 1900, there were as many as 250,000 drug addicts in the United States alone. The first law enacted against drugs was in 1875, and as drug use and abuse became more prevalent, more laws were enacted. Drug use was dwindled in the late 1920s and the early 1930s, but was significantly increasing again by the 1950s. Today, in the 2000s, it has reached epidemic proportions. With stressors on society, both real and imagined, there seems to be a natural tendency for many people to want to try any type of mind-alternating or psychotic drug. They need to relax, escape, forget, or otherwise put aside the stress that they feel is usually the motivator for drug use. Many people begin simply as part of peer pressure. Everyone at the party is doing it, so they do it too. Just try it. It can't hurt you. It will make you feel better. On the contrary to what many people may think, drug users are not all bad people. Many of them are just normal everyday people who get addicted to drugs or alcohol because of choices they made in their life. There are many types of addiction as well, for many addictions involves two or more substances, like alcohol addiction, heroin addiction, meth addiction, methadone addiction, prescription drug addiction, and a lot more. Here are some top 10 reasons people use drugs. 1. Scratch that, number 1. They may seem like a no-brainer, but there are actually some surprising reasons why people may begin and continue to use drugs. It is for the following reasons that anyone who is using or addicted to drugs not be judged, but helped. Here are some of the top 10 reasons people use drugs. 1. They are legal. Yeah, I said that right. Some of the drugs that have the most users are completely legal. Nicotine and alcohol are not illegal, and yet they are highly addictive. 2. They are prescribed. There are many different medications which are prescribed for a specific purpose, but because of the reaction of the brain to those medications, people easily become addicted. Some examples of these are pain medications, anti-anxiety meds, muscle relaxers, and even diet pills. There are so many more though. 3. Rebellion. Chances are many who are now adults did the same thing, but teenagers often begin using drugs as an act of rebellion or peer pressure. They experiment with drugs and alcohol. Some become addicted, some don't. 4. Self-medication. People live with varying degrees of stressors in their lives. There are times when instead of seeking the advice of a doctor, they begin to medicate themselves with marijuana, street drugs, or even perhaps alcohol. 5. Boredom. There are those that begin to experiment with drugs simply because they are bored or they feel emptiness in their lives. They are searching for something and mistakenly think that the answer is drugs or alcohol. 6 is the most common one. Peer pressure. Not only teens, but many adults begin to experiment with drugs because their friends do. They begin casually at a gathering or a party and continue on from there. Many times this leads to addiction. Not many times, most of the time. It feels good. Addictive drugs made people deathly ill. Every time they tried it, people would probably not become addicted. However, this is not what happens. Cocaine, meth, marijuana, and many other drugs make a person feel very, very good when they begin using them. This leads to drug addiction, even though the good feelings get harder and harder to experience with time. 8. Curiosity. The power of curiosity should never be underestimated. Many people, young and old, try drugs simply to see what will happen. They are curious as to effects on the drug and start using for no other reason than to find out what it feels like. 9. Availability. Prescription drugs and street drugs are extremely accessible to anyone who wants to find them. They can be purchased on the street, through doctors, online pharmacies, and even through black market websites. 10. Enhancement. Drug use and abuse very often starts with people drinking alcohol. When the effects of the alcohol aren't enough, they branch out into using other drugs as well as to enhance the effects of the alcohol. Of course, there are many other reasons why people may begin using drugs, but the long and short of it is that they like the way the drugs make them feel. The short-term effects for most drugs are extremely pleasant, and that is what keeps the person going back for more. Many people are forced to do it. Exactly what peer pressure is. No one can really stop it. And the people out there that are addicted to drugs and abusing them, please seek help. It can really help you. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Please seek help. It means the world to you and your loved ones. Because no one, and I mean no one, wants to lose their loved ones, even of natural causes. Thanks.